What's up, guys? This is Undead Birds M41A. Today we got a new rifle for you. Well, it's not a rifle, it's a carbine. It's an M1 carbine. Pretty awesome, right? Made by Winchester. Serial number is in the 500,000 range, so I'm not sure what date that will make it. If you do know, let us know in the comments. We just got this a little while ago, and we're having some problems with it extracting, and that kind of thing. But for most of it, shoots pretty good most of all. So we decided to get this spring kit just to replace the springs. So we're going to show you how to do that. Alright, so first of all, it is empty, and it's a little bit easier to take it apart, have it cocked back, and what you want to do is, well, take the sling off first, that'll make it a little bit easier. Pop that off, and you grab a little screwdriver, and you unscrew this right here. This is captured screw, so it won't come off, so you don't lose it, so that's pretty cool. Eventually it just stops turning, and you push that down, and this here will slide off. If you get that pushed down far enough. There we go, it slides up, and then your piece of wood on top comes off, your hand guard, what you call that. And then simply lift the rest of the gun up, and it's latched in back here. It just pivots out just like that. And we're done with this. We're going to set that to the side. Alright, so now we got the gun ready to take the trigger group out. This is a pin right here. Basically just falls out. It's super loose. And this here just slides out backwards or forwards. You can see it's kind of keyed in to a groove on the back. So there's a trigger group. And we'll take this apart later. It's got springs in there we're going to replace. Some of them we might not, because like the Mad Catch, it still works really good, and it seems like the trigger and the sear and everything still works pretty good. So anyways, we might not mess with this, but we might, so don't know. Then you want to take out your recoil spring. Just pull back on it like this. This will come out. Here's the spring and the catch, guide rod, whatever you want to call it. We will replace that, obviously. Then this here has a disassembly notch right there. If you can see it, kind of right there. There's also another one right here. And there's a piece of metal on here. And on here that lines up with those two notches. And it kind of just rotates out like this way. So you just kind of find it. And there it goes, just like that. Alright, so the bolt, all you have to do is pull it up, and you're going to kind of slide it forwards and up this way. Like this. Just back, forwards, up this way. Just kind of work it out, just like that. And that's that. We are going to take this bolt apart too. We'll probably do that last. We got one of those special tools you use to take this apart. You're going to want to get one of those tools, because if you try to get this off apart by hand, you might end up messing the bolt face, and it just won't work right, and it'll at least be, it's worth the $30 just to go ahead and buy the tool. Alright, so before I take apart the trigger group, which we decided to do, we're going to go ahead and replace this spring. So we got our Wolf spring kit here, and this one came with the extra power recoil spring, so it should be a little bit longer. Well, if we can get it out of there. We're going to need to get a knife. Alright, so we got our knife here, which is actually an M1 carbine bayonet. And this here is actual Camillus bayonet. It's supposedly from World War II. So this came with the carbine, so that's pretty awesome. Let's see if we can get it open. Probably could be sharpened a little bit, but anyways. We're gonna throw it out.
This has probably actually stabbed a couple of people. As you can see, it's extremely worn down, and the tip is actually kind of like rounded off almost.
As you can see, it says, can you see that?
Yeah, there
you go. US M4 Camillus. Pretty cool. Little knife. And the handle is really rough on this thing. It's like chiseled up, and
the whole knife is very rough.
So, pretty awesome. Try not to lose any springs when you pull this big one out. Just kind of slide it out of there, just like that. Okay. Well, there you go, guys. It is a lot bigger. About a ½ inch, maybe, bigger. And also, the coils look like they're a tiny bit bigger, too. Not sure if you can see that. Yeah, you can. Anyways, let's see. I don't think it matters which way it goes. It has 3 coils on both sides. So we're just going to stick that right in there. I'm going to set that to the side. Alright, so now we're going to try to take this apart. And just so you guys know, I've never done this before. So better keep that in mind before you start bashing us in the comments. You know, because we've never had done this before. Alright, so this is the first one you want to take out, the hammer spring. You want to have the hammer forward. Of course, I should show you. When you pull the trigger, don't let this thing fly forwards and slam against this, because that'll mess up your hammer and your little shelf inside there. You don't want to do that. I don't know if you can tell, but this one, the parkerizing is still really clean in there. So somebody's been treating this gun pretty good, so that's good. Just let it forwards. Just real careful. You can see there's a hole right there. You're going to slide your punch in there, compress the spring, and you're going to pull it out this way. It's just a guide rod back there that's holding this in. That's all it is. It's under spring pressure. So, I'll watch your eyes too. Probably wear eye protection. Pull it out. Let it go. And there that is. Alright, so here's the new hammer spring. And you can tell it's a little bit longer too, so we'll go ahead and replace that. Simply just pulls out. It doesn't matter which direction that one goes either. And this here, it's the same all the way around too. It doesn't really matter. And of course, probably should oil the springs when you put them on, and the parts. Slide it on there, and there you go. Set that one aside too. Alright, so next we're going to take out the hammer, and this pin here should come out just like that. And it is a little spring inside of there. Should come out just like that, and then it should lift out just like that. Alright, so next there's a sear and trigger in there. There's a spring underneath of there. There should be, anyways. Like I said, I've never done this before. So, anyways. I think you push it from this side this way, I think. But this is under pressure, so you want to keep that covered so you don't lose the spring. Just push it out. Just like that. Oh, there's a pin came out, so then I'm going to slide this out. I don't know if you heard that, but it all came apart. Hopefully we can get it back together, right? It should all come out. There's a sear spring. And here is the trigger right there. Here's the trigger reset spring, or whatever you want to call that. The kit doesn't come with a new one of these, but it's a regular old coil spring, so probably don't have to worry about that anyways. It just kind of interfaces with this like this, and there you go. I think that's probably the extent of what we're going to do, because a mad catch, I mean, it works pretty good. So I think we're just going to place a sear spring and call it done. So we decided we're going to go ahead and try to get this thing out, because we figured we got it apart. What the heck? There's a hole right there, and you can see there's a plunger in there. You can see that. Anyways, you're going to take your punch. You can actually use your guide rod on your spring, recoil spring if you want, but I got this punch here, so you're going to stick it in there, pull back on that. It's going to take pressure off of this, and you're supposed to be able to push this out. And that plunger is going to shoot out there and you're going to lose it. So keep your hand covering that up. Like I said, never done this before, but here we go. Oh, there you go. See, this is coming out here. It's a spring catch there. It's coming out still. There's the plunger there. So here's this. One right there. Way it there. We got this one right here. It's actually kind of stuck in there. Right there. And I'm not sure it comes with this spring, but we'll look in the kit and find out. So there's the whole trigger group. Oh wait, pull the safety out too. No spring in that one. There's the whole trigger group completely disassembled. I'll put it back together next. Alright, so I was looking in the kit, and apparently we do have the sear spring. We have this little spring here, which is more closed on top because it pinches in on this plunger piece, which is kind of hard to get off. I already got mine off. I had to use a multi-tool and held it with a rag and held it on there and twist it off. And it also came with this one here, which goes in between those, and these just pull apart like this. So I'm going to go ahead and put some oil on those and put the springs on. Alright, so we got our springs on there. We didn't put the sear spring in yet. We'll put that in when we put the trigger back. We're going to go ahead and put the magazine, not the magazine, the safety back in. Stick it in like this. I'm going to take the, this is the magazine catch plunger thing. And it goes in here. And you're going to look through here. Can you see that on there? It should catch inside of a place. Inside of there somewhere. So I'm keeping pressure on this thing. Oh, there it goes. It clicked in there. It's not going to come out now. And safety should be pointing down. See that? And you put your plunger back in here like this. Have this piece here. Like this, and it's going to, this right here underneath is going to push down on top of this. So you're going to have it like this, and you're going to have to push down in this to get this out of the way. So we found that plunger. Thank you, God, for that. And you need to keep this pushed down. And this here is going to slide in there. What's supposed to, anyways. There it goes. Make sure you see it? Make sure your plunger right here is straightened out. That's pretty straight. And this should clip in just like that. So now your magazine release works good, catch, what are you going to call it, and the safety works good. This is a little bit harder now because it's got a new spring in there, but that's to be expected. Alright, so now we're ready to put the sear and trigger and hammer all back in there. So, this is going to be kind of hard for you to see, but this spring here goes in the back of this, in there, and these coils go into that hole right there, and the top of these, the springy part here, goes against this to keep tension on this, and this is going to be riding on this like this. So basically what I'm doing is I'm sticking the trigger in there like this, part ways, pushing this on here, and shoving this right here back into this hole back there. So it's going to be kind of hard for you to see while I'm doing it, but that's basically what I'm doing. Sticking this in here. Oops. This here is going to go in that lip right there. I'm going to be shoving this back down into there. Once it gets in there, it'll stay there. Just like that. Can you see it in there? Well, it's not very good. There you can kind of see it. It's caught down in there. And the holes is almost lined up. Right, so next we're going to put our sear spring. Now you want to be careful because the sear spring, can you see it? The ends of it are kind of cantered out like a rocket tip. You know what I mean? On both sides. It kind of looks like a bullet or something like that. So it sticks into a hole, which is in the trigger, in there. I don't know if you can see it. It's in there. Let me get a flashlight. Alright, so there's a hole right in there. You see that dark spot? It's going to go right there. You can kind of see that back coil spring now too a little bit better. Alright, so the sear has a little catch divot place on the back of it right there where the spring will catch it. So it's going to go in like this. So the sear spring is going to go down in there. A little hole. Just kind of have to slide it back. Might have to use a tool. There it goes. And the sear is going to fit. It's going to catch it. Just like that. Actually, I'm going to put some oil on it real fast. I forgot to do that. Alright guys, so our phone died and we charged a little bit and now we're back. So if you remember, our sear is in there now, pushed against there. And there's the hole. Right, can you see it? Yeah, you can. Where it lines up, you're going to push that in there. Get the sear lined up at the hole so it lines up. I'm going to try to start it with the punch just to hold it in place. Got our pin back here. Should have the punch going in from the other side. Anyways, you don't have to watch this, but I'm going to stick this in the hole. I'm going to chase it with the pin. I'm going to ram it through. Okay, so I got it in there. I just lined up the holes, shoved it in there from right side with the magazine catch to the left. I should mention that I found it was easier to have this safety engaged than to have it disengaged. It kind of holds the trigger in place a little bit, keeps it from moving around. Alright, so next we have our hammer and this little pin that it rides on. I'll put some oil on that really fast. So now we're going to take it off safety so that you can move the trigger around, so that you can engage the sear there. You see it moves around. If you have it, it won't move around on you. So you want it on fire. So you're going to take your hammer, and you can see it has a ledge right there which engages the sear. Can you see it? And then the sear is right there, and that right there engages with this. So the sear moves back and forth like this on that spring we just put in there. So we're going to use this hammer, stick it in there, we're going to push back on the sear on this lip here, and we're going to line up the holes here. I'm going to push this pin in from right to left. It's one direction, you can see. There, you can kind of see it better. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to slide in there. You can see the holes don't line up at all. You push back on the sear. Holes start to line up. This one's way easier because all you're doing is putting in one thing. So it goes like that. And here's where you're going to get confused, because I did. So you're going to be like, oh look, I'm pulling the trigger, but the hammer's not going forwards. I'm pushing on it, it's not going forwards. You have to push on it kind of hard, and you have to disengage the sear to let it go forwards. So just push down the trigger, and you're going to have to push down on this right here inside the sear. I don't know if you can see that. To get it to go forwards. Now let's see, it's happening to me again. Just gotta fill around with it until it lets itself go forwards. Just like that, okay? Not gonna tell you exactly how I did that, because I tried it again. Alright, anyways. Just gonna mess with the sear and the trigger, hammer, and really go in there. Just kind of, it's catching on that ledge I was telling you about, is what's happening. And the trigger's pushing up on it. So you're going to have to just kind of engage it and let it come forwards. Just like that. Alright, so next we got our hammer, spring, and plunger thing. I don't know what you call it. I guess it's called a plunger. And it rides in a little groove right there. I put a tiny bit of grease right there because you're supposed to grease things to slide back and forth and oil things that turn. So I put a tiny bit of grease in there. I use this grease, Extreme Weapons grease. It seems to work pretty good. Highly recommend it. Anyways, let's put a tiny dab right there. Got our new spring. I don't think it matters which way this one goes. Same on both sides. And it's going to go back in this hole. Like in there. Well, I'll tell you where it's supposed to go, and we'll see where it actually goes. Alright, so it turns out it doesn't actually fit inside that hole. There's a ring that it sits on, that it pushes on. So that's my mistake. So we got our pin, we got a punch, we got our thing. Just going to compress this. I don't know if I can do it by hand. Let's see. Alright, so haven't got it in yet, just wanted to tell you that the largest part of the spring here, where the bottom end of the spring is, you want to put on the left side of this hole. And I'm just going to hold this. I'm going to hold on to the spring, so if I let go of the stupid thing, maybe I'll catch the spring. And supposedly this thing's supposed to go in there. Alright, we're going to have to do it off camera probably. Alright guys, so after a lot of finagling and cursing and whatever you want to do, finally got it in there. We had to take it down to the vise and clamp it in there. Oh, our phone's about to die again. Had to take it down to the vise, clamp it in there, and we had a screwdriver, or no, this punch thing again. We had it shoved in there like this, and we just pulled back on it and got it back in there. We actually had a pin through the back here, pushing through, holding the back of the spring in there, because there's nothing to hold the spring from flying out like this. It kept shooting down in there. So anyways, that's what we got in there. Cock it back, let it go forwards. Works good. So there it is, and we'll have to charge the phone up again, and trigger group is now done. So we got our phone charged up again. It's on like 20% or something, so we'll see how long it lasts for. Next we're going to be taking apart the bolt. You don't want to do this by hand with hand tools. You want to get this tool right here. As you can see, this tool is about $30, and it comes with this. Came with this thing too. It came with a wrench for the gas plug or whatever too. But we're not worried about that. We're using this. See, this has got 2 notches right there. That's for putting it back together. And this one here is just solid. And that's for taking it apart. So we'll loosen this up. And we're going to put that ejector right there, as you can see. We're going to stick that right where that plug is. Right there. We're going to put this in that little gap right there. And we're just going to tighten this. Get it in there. Tighten this knob right here. Gotta get this in the right spot. There it goes. There's a little tiny plunger that this here is pushing on. It's pushing it down. So we're tightening this up here like this. Until that flat part is flat with this here. And then the extractor should just fall out. Just like that. If it doesn't fall out, there's a hole right here. You just punch it out just like that. It'll fall right out. And then we can take the firing pin out. It just comes right out. There's no spring on the firing pin. It does have a little cam piece there. Cut out, not cam. And then the piece on the bottom. There's that. And then we can take this out like this. That is under a spring under there. The ejector. So we want to make sure we don't lose that. Oh, you heard it pop out. Loosen it up. Pull this out. And here's the ejector and a spring. And this little plunger right here, this teeny tiny little thingy. If you lose this, man, you're going to be in trouble. It has a spring, which is down inside there, and that's what we were pushing down with this. And you can see that there's a cutout. Can you see that? It's not all the way pointy. It's flat on one side. Okay. Gotta get that and keep that in mind when you're putting them back together. Then you pull that little spring out there. And comes out, there it is. So there's your bolt, completely disassembled. This tool is super easy to get it apart and put it back together. And we'll get everything oiled up and we'll put it back together. Alright, so we got our new ejector spring on there. And here's the old extractor spring, extractor pin spring. And you can tell it's really close together, and it's really super hard to squeeze together. Now the kit comes with 2 little springs, that one and that one. And that one there is about the same size, but it's pretty easy to squeeze. And this one here's a tiny bit longer, but it's really hard to squeeze. So I'm pretty sure I want to go with that the longer one is supposed to be the extractor spring, and that this lighter one is supposed to be the slide stop spring. So I took it apart earlier, and it looks more like this one does. And I'm pretty sure that this is the one going for the extractor. So if I'm wrong, sorry, but if I'm right, you're welcome. So anyways, take away the old one, put the new one. Oh, I should say, on this here, it is closed at one end, so it clips in, it won't come off. So make sure you put the right end on there. So to put the bolt back together, simply take your new spring, try to put some oil on. When you have it apart, you might as well clean it out really good. Run some Q-tips down in there, get all the carbon and stuff out of there. I already did that off camera. I'll fit down there. Now, if you remember, I told you this thing here has a flat side on the tip. Alright, there you go, you can see it. Now that flat side you're going to have facing that direction, so away from the camera right now. Facing away from the camera. You have it sits on top of that spring. Really hard to get in there. Okay, got on there. It's not quite facing the right way, so I'm going to grab my punch. Not sure where it went to. Turn it a little bit so that it's facing the right direction. Just like that. Now, put some oil on this. Not sure if I did it already or not, but I'm going to anyways. Put the ejector back in here, in the C part that's cut out there. See it? Can you see the C? Faces to the right, just like that. Because that C is going to line up with that hole, so that the firing pin can go in there too. It has a C too, and the extractor will go in there, and they'll all line up nice and perfect and hold each other together. So you're going to slide that in there like that. And then you're going to turn this so that you have the end with the fork on it, facing down. And you're going to make sure that's still pointing the right way. Pretty good. And just like taking it apart, put the ejector on the pin in the side of there. I have to loosen this up a little bit. Just like that. Yeah. Just turn it on me a little bit. Okay. Slide that in there. And put this on top of this. That groove is going to catch that ledge, the flat part on the little dimple thing. Just like that. And catch it on there. Crank it until this piece there is flat against this. Crank it, crank it, crank it, crank it. The new spring's a little bit tough. Just like that. And then your extractor should slide. You can see all the holes lined up in there. You kind of see. Guess I can go ahead and put the firing pin in. Should probably do that first. Goes in there. It only goes in one way. See, it has that key on there. So it fits like that. Slide this in there, like that. Might not go in all the way at first. I have to fidget with the knot a little bit. There, it just kind of clicked in. Still not down all the way. So you might have to back up the knob a little bit. Fidget around. Tighten the knob up a little bit. Until it clicks into place. There, just like that. Now I'm going to back the tension off of it. Rotate this out of there somehow. Just like that. The second time I've ever done this, so keep that in mind. And there we go. The firing pin is free floating in there. It's not falling out. We have tension on the ejector, just like that. We have tension on the extractor, just like that. So there we go. There you replace the springs on your bolt. The very last spring to replace on this gun is the spring that goes behind this, the bolt catch. This here actually isn't spring loaded itself, but there's a spring going this way, inside of there that keeps tension on it so it doesn't fall out. I'm not going to replace that spring because it's you know, it seems to be working pretty good. But if you want to, this is the spring that comes with the kit that you want to replace it with. And all you have to do is, you can see smaller on the bottom, bigger on the top. Push it out like this way. Make sure you catch the spring because might shoot out on you. And then when you're going to put it back in, you have to use a punch, or you can use your rod here and stick it in there and hold that spring down so this will slide back in there. So I'm not going to do that because mine seems to be working pretty good, but that's how you do it if you want to. There's probably other videos on YouTube on how to do that. So now all I have to do is put it back together. So the first thing we're going to do, put this thing back together. We got our trigger group. I'll put it back together. And it's going to slide inside of there with that key in the back there. Stick the hammer in there, slide it forwards. You're going to put your pin back in, and it goes from right to left. There's actually like a cutout where the ledge sits on the pin, so you won't get it messed up. Just pushes right in there. Oops. Just like that, sits flush. Make sure the bayonet lugs out of the way. And next we're going to put our bolt back in. Actually, I'm going to put some grease on this first. Alright, so basically when I grease this thing, I grease all the things that slide. So I grease the bolt, the lugs especially. Make sure you get the lugs. Grease the frame rails here. Well, I didn't call them frame rails, but the parts where the charging handle rides on the rails, the barrel there. Inside where the bolt rides. And I think that's about it. Oh, yeah, I showed you that earlier. I'll put a drop. Yeah. Oh, and I put grease inside of here too, where the charging handle catches on the grooves itself. So the next thing to do to put this back together is we're going to slide the bolt back in. You remember when we took it out, we pulled it out and slid it this way. So we're going to do the same thing, so the opposite, putting it in. Probably should have the hammer cocked back. You don't have to cock back the hammer. So this here is just going to slide inside of there. Oh, you're going to make sure, of course, your extractor is facing this way. You have to go in there the right way. So it's actually easier to get the bolt in with the trigger grip out. So my mistake there. Slides back in there. There's a groove right there that front notch catches in. So that's all that goes. Now I'm going to put this back on. So next we're going to put the charging handle on. And the cam here on the bolt catches inside of here, that groove. So you're going to want to bring the bolt back a little bit so that it'll line up with the cam. And try to put it on. And then, like I said, there's a notch you can see that has to line up with that cut. And then there's another notch right there for this one here. There's a square right there. So this should just rotate onto there. Get it lined up right. Of course, I've done this hundreds of times, but now that it's on video, I can't get it to work. So. Alright, so the problem was I didn't have the bolt back far enough. Let's pull it back far enough, kind of rotates on there. Just like that. You might not believe me, but I have taken this gun apart several times. Without any problems, but just on video for some reason, couldn't get it to work right. Anyways, really smooth action now, all greased up, so that's what you want to see. So now we got our extra power recoil spring, and it looks like it's the same on both sides, so I'm just going to assume it doesn't matter which way it goes in. Stick your guide rod in there, just like that. Spring goes inside of there. There's a hole right there, of course. You can probably see it. But then there's another hole in the lever here that this end goes into. This one is a little bit harder to compress because I don't remember if you can remember, but it was a little bit longer.
About half an inch.
So hopefully this will help with the function of the gun though. There we go. Definitely it feels a lot stiffer than the other one, so I don't know if that's going to cause it to jam or not. We'll find out when we go shoot this thing. So now it's time to put the action back into the stock. I don't know if you can see. There's this metal piece on the back, and then the receiver right here has a hook on the back, and this hooks into the stock, just like this. Hold on a second. I'm trying not to touch the gun that's going to be covered up, you know what I mean? So, bear with me. Anyways, slides in there, angle it just like that. And then just press it down. Got that on there. I'm going to wipe my fingerprints off of it again. Get the fingerprints off. Don't want to scratch it up. For some reason, it's getting caught. There we go. Just like that. And your top cover. There's a piece right there that's hollow underneath there. And then this has a little metal lip on it. And that slides underneath that piece just like that. Hold it there. And all you have to do is slide your barrel band / bayonet lug thing / sling swivel. It's 3-in-1. Pretty cool, right? And this here is spring loaded, so just force it on there until it clicks. Mine's a little bit tight. Just gonna tap on it a little bit. There it goes. Just like that. You got yourself your screwdriver. Now with these kinds of old guns, you want to get your screwdriver that isn't too big because you'll scratch the piece. You don't want it to be too small, otherwise it'll round out the screw. So you want it to be kind of right in between. And just tighten it up. Obviously take care not to strip this thing off. So I'm going to turn it until it stops. Pretty good to me. Alright, so there we go. All the springs are placed in this thing. Bolt hold open works. Goes back forwards. Safety still works. There we go. And stay tuned because we are going to do a video on this gun as soon as we get the ammunition for it. We have a bunch for it, but we're saving it for the coronavirus zombies, so we bought some extra. And we also need to do a review on our M1 Garand because we did a spring replacement on it, but we still haven't done a review on it. So please stay tuned for those.